Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving, Black Friday shopping, Cyber Monday, Cyber Week, whatever the hell you want to call it this week. We're now kicking off December 2025, and what a better way to start off than with a tower of power. Yes, we're talking about the Dell Pro Max Tower T2. So this thing is loaded for bear. So Dell is once again in their Pro Max series really loaded this thing up, and we saw it on the workstations between the Dell Pro Max 16 Plus, the Dell Pro Max 18 Plus, the Dell Pro Max 16 Premium, and the 14 and all that stuff. So we have the Dell Pro Max Tower here. This is the T2, and it's running the Intel Core Ultra 9 295K V Pro, of course. That is a pretty powerful CPU. It's got desktop performance, obviously, featuring a 24-core CPU operating at 5.7 gigahertz. Now, 128 gigabytes of DDR5, 4400 megahertz ECC memory. There are 4 32 gigabyte sticks. NVIDIA RTX Pro 6000 Blackwell. That's a 600-watt GPU with 96 gigabytes of GDDR7 memory. Yeah, this thing is fully loaded, right? 2 terabytes of M.2 Gen 5 SSD storage, 2 terabytes of Gen 4 SSD storage. You can do this, by the way, up to 12 terabytes of SSD storage and up to 24 terabytes of hard disk storage. Really amazing stuff here. Now, this got a scalable 32-liter design. It's got 4 PCIe slots, up to 1,500 watts of power. It even has a DVD writer and optical disc, and there is no thing that this doesn't have. This pretty much has every port under the sun that you want on a powerful workstation here, desktop workstation, and this thing is really, really powerful. It also has a pretty high price tag, coming in over $12,000, nearly $13,000 as configured, and actually specifically $12,787. Now, of course, that's how it's fully loaded here, but it does come in a lot cheaper. It just depends on what you're speccing this out with. Of course, I'll leave a link to the website where you can configure it. Obviously, this is not for the average consumer. I understand that, but I wanted you to see what a real workstation can offer in a tower form with desktop power that is really unrivaled. And that RTX Pro 6000 Blackwell graphics is the equivalent, I would say, of an RTX 5090, but of course has those certified drivers for ISV certified applications. So for those professionals like architects, medical imaging, 3D rendering, high-end video editing, this thing is a pure beast. And by the way, one of the quietest towers I've ever used. Again, we saw that with the Dell one from the XPS replacement that I looked at. This one is also equally as quiet. I don't understand how they're doing this. The fans on here are really good. They work very well, but they also stay quiet when you're even rendering high-end stuff, really pushing this under load. We're going to find out why I think this is the premier tower there's period, bar none. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is the Dell Pro Max Tower, the T2, brand new as we round out 2025, coming up. All right, we're going to start off with the tower itself, and this is an all-metal design. It's a 32-liter case here, and it's easily removable in terms of the side panel. All you have to do is loosen that Phillips head screw, pull off the side panel. It's easy to put on and put it back off. It stays on pretty secure, and you get access to the internals. And obviously, once you're inside, you'll notice plenty of upgradability with this in terms of RAM, storage. It's got a 1500-watt power supply. It's got hard disk drive space if you want to use that. It's even got an optical drive. It's got 2 fans, one in the front, one in the back, that looks amazing in terms of it actually gets the job done in terms of cooling this, and obviously keeps it very, very quiet. One of the quietest desktop / workstations I've ever used. So that has been pretty good. All right, let's talk ports here. On the front side, you're getting the lockable storage bay. That's optional. Optical disk drive. That is the one I have on the review unit. That is really good if you want to watch DVDs, burn DVDs, a little bit of a throwback. Why not? Power switch with LED. That is where you turn it on. Universal audio port, always convenient in the front. 2 USB Type A 3.2 Gen 1. They are 5 gigabits per second. And then you get 2 USB Type C 3.2 Gen 2. One is 10 gigabits per second, and then there's one that is 20 gigabits per second that supports power share. That rounds out the front side. And on the back is your power connector to DisplayPort 1.4a. You get your optional port module. You can choose one of the following. You can do the serial module. You can do the Thunderbolt 4 plus USB-C. That would be 10 gigabits per second, so you can have those both there. USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-C. That's going to be 10 gigabits per second. That supports DisplayPort. And then you get HDMI 2.1. I think that comes standard. DisplayPort 2.1, 5 gigabit LAN port Ethernet, 2 USB-A 3.2 Gen 2. You can get VGA, 5G optical fiber. Then you get a USB-C 3.2 Gen 2, that is 20 gigabits per second. You get a Thunderbolt 4 port, USB Type-C. You get 2 USB 2.1, 480 megabits per second with Smart Power On. And then you get another USB 3.2 Gen 2, and that's 10 gigabits per second. And then you get an RJ45 Ethernet port, that's 1 gigabit Ethernet, by the way. So that is the ports on the unit. So you got plenty of ports there, plenty of I/O for your needs. Now, the spec sheet obviously is going to translate into a lot of performance, especially when you're doing AI workflows, high-end 4K video editing and stuff like that. This is where it really shines, and that's where these professional apps really come into play. And this is where this can really be the right job or tool for the job, right? So we're looking at excellent single and multi-core performance. Obviously, that's what you'd expect out of this. Excellent in terms of the Geekbench 6, obviously the Cinebench 2024, both synthetic benchmarks, but give you a good idea of just how well this does. So if you're going to do everyday tasks like Microsoft Office, email, web browsing, everything handled really well. Obviously, that's to be expected. But where you're going to really shine on this is things like LLMs, AI workflows, and workloads, and this is going to be really good in terms of that. So I'm really happy with the performance that this really brings to the table. Now, the RTX Pro 6000 Blackwell is the equivalent, I would say, of an RTX 5090. It's really loaded for bear. So you're going to do high-end video editing in DaVinci Resolve Premiere Pro. I ran the Puget Bench DaVinci Resolve benchmark, and obviously from the results, this can handle very complex 4K renders and stuff like that. And it also stayed very quiet, by the way. The thermals on this are really good. They put a couple of big fans in this thing and really did a good job cooling it, but it also stayed quiet. One of the things they really harped on and worked on with this is to keep it quiet and give you a good experience in terms of that. So they did a good job. You could also game on your downtime. Obviously, this is going to be very powerful in terms of CPU, GPU combination, and judging by the results in playing some of the more popular titles, it does really well. It supports DLSS for extra frame rate generation if those titles support it. So really an all-around tower here. Obviously, for the price point, the way it's configured here today, you'd expect it to have this kind of performance. All right, let's talk pricing here. And as configured, over $12,000, nearly $13,000, and of course, pretty much out of reach for most general audience here, most general people, consumers, right? Not for businesses. So when you start looking at the price point, they're not going to blink at this. Major corporations, bigger corporations, even medium to large corporations are going to look at this as the right tool for the job. It has the ISV certified drivers. The RTX Pro 6000 Blackwell will do great renders in terms of 4K video editing. It's going to be great for 3D rendering. You're going to be able to do AI workloads, LLMs. I mean, all that stuff is what this is meant to do. So companies will pay for this in one or two projects easily and not blink at the price tag. So when you start saying, well, this is way too expensive, I can just get the budget gaming tower over at Best Buy. Yeah, you could do that, but it's not the right tool for the job for these professional corporations, professional businesses, and those who use that. So just keep that in mind when you look at the price tag. Now, it does have a starting price of about $1,500 to $1,800 or something like that. Of course, prices always fluctuate. So check the link in the description below, but how you configure it is obviously going to dictate what you're going to pay. So to bring it all home, what do I think about the Dell Pro Max T2 here, the Tower T2, I should say, as we round out 2025. And if you're a professional looking for a tower that's going to bring power, performance, quiet ability in terms of the fan noise to get the work done with ISV certified applications like CAD work, 3D rendering, high-end 4K video editing, things of that nature, you're going to really want something like this. Now, of course, we looked at some mobile workstations that are pretty powerful, but nothing will rival this. Nothing can totally replace a desktop of this magnitude. And I think they did really a remarkable job in the power, the performance, keeping it quiet even when under heavy load. So that is a major achievement as far as I'm concerned. The RTX Pro 6000 Blackwell graphics certainly deliver, and the CPU obviously highest end for Intel here in 2025. So definitely something to look at if you're in the professional market that needs something that will really get the job done. And this certainly fits the bill.